And I will just butt in when I want to.
I hope we're live.
Which actually seems to be working well. Having an actual conversation. Who would have thought? Did I take my medication this morning?
Here we go.
I did. Oh, God.
Ta-da! And we're live. Hi, everybody. Hey, what's up, Tiri?
Motherfucker. Let me read this. Oh, sorry, I forgot we were live.
I know, God forbid people hear such harsh language.
Outbreak 1918. You added something, and I didn't actually know this little bit of history.
Oh, 1918?
Uh huh. 91 deaths.
Sorry, we're getting a little bit of a late start this morning. What's up, Patrick?
More than 100 deaths.
Where? Who? What?
Oh, on the ships in 1918.
Oh.
One had 78, one had 91, one had 20.
Yeah, I've had an eventful week. It's only Wednesday, and I've already had to deal with a turf and with a freaking misogynist.
My hair is. Oh, there we go. All fixed. Shut. Now my glasses are fogging up. God, I hate being in disguise. But here we are. Okay.
Not the delights of living in a fascist country.
I did not request a password reset on my Reddit, so somebody's trying to hack my Reddit account.
Dun dun dun.
Which is so funny. Like, what are you gonna do on fucking Reddit?
But Reddit's where the real internet is. My God, I haven't been on Reddit in ages.
Can I tell you a secret? You know how I procrastinate?
What? You? No.
Well, you know what I forgot to do last week?
What's that?
Renew my registration for my cars. So I did it for my Mitsubishi, the one that I drive all the time, but I also have to do it for Aiden's car.
Womp womp.
But for some reason, it's not popping up when I go to renew it, and I'm wondering if he has tolls that he didn't tell me about. Because they won't let you renew your registration if you have tolls, unpaid tolls.
That would be unfortunate.
I'll kill him.
Ugh. I gotta redo my nails. They're a mess. My pretty red nail polish is all chipping off.
Yeah, you do your nails. I don't even do my nails. So.
But I like my nails being pretty.
Go get fake nails. It's much prettier. You feel wait. I'm actually reminded of the meme, the Family Guy meme where he has fake nails and he's typing on the keyboard.
Yes. Yeah, I've thought about that, but I don't know.
No, don't do that.
I don't think I want to do fake nails.
That would be so weird.
Or at least not long ones. Like I definitely wouldn't want to do like long fake nails. That would just be odd, and I wouldn't be able to type properly.
It would also just be odd in general. People would be like, "Why is he doing that?"
Yeah, it's like no, I don't need long fake nails. I'm fine.
It would go from being funny to like being very try me or a very try hard. Like, oh, he's so liberal, he got fake nails. Even I would make fun of you. I'd be like, Alex, do you know what this fucking guy did?
Yeah, no. Press on nails is like, eh. I mean, if they made them, they probably do make them, but if they made them just like like the size of my nail where it didn't stick out, I might do that just because it'll last longer. But even then, I don't think I'd do it. I think it would feel
Listen,
weird.
if you ever come visit your dad, I'm definitely taking you to downtown St. Pete where all of the bars are. So put on the fake nails and maybe you can join a drag show.
I mean, there was that one time in Dallas. That was an. I've told you about that, haven't I?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We talked about it on the podcast.
No, that's right. We had a whole thing about that. All right, are we ready to go?
No, not yet. Hold on.
Girl.
Listen, guys, I'm very tired this morning. I haven't been sleeping well. We also have a new method of doing the podcast, which, while the notes are easier to do, we're just doing bullet points, whereas I used to script myself. I'm concerned about that. So, listen, Rachel Maddow says that she scripts every single word she says online. So I feel less bad about scripting myself.
Yeah, but she also has an entire staff and she's paid millions of dollars.
I mean, that is true.
And she does one show a week. And
no, she used to do it when she was doing multiple shows a day. I read her book.
But she was also paid millions of dollars to do that.
Yeah. Okay, let's go. This is the Opinionated Ogre podcast.
Don't make me mock you.
Oh my god, I gotta pull up Substack.
Yeah, gosh.
So I can see our people. Oh shit, that's not it. Oh my god, I'm dying. It says that our live ended. What?
Yeah, no, I screwed that up. I had to start a new one.
Oh, is this us? Okay. All right, guys, I'm here.
All right, let's do this. This is the Opinionated Ogre Podcast, your weekly rampage through current events with a little snark, a bit of foul language, and a lot of strong opinions. There are new episodes every Thursday, and they're not safe for work or polite company of any kind whatsoever. I am your podcast host, the Opinionated Ogre, and this is my co-host, Florida Woman, who's currently hyperventilating because we're using bullet points instead of a script. So have mercy on her, Ogre Nation, and send her encouraging thoughts.
Good morning, everybody.
How are you doing? You ready to do this? You excited for bullet points this week? Full bullet points, just about?
No.
It's going to be fine. You're going to be fine.
We'll see how it goes when I'm editing later. You might be getting messages of me cussing you out. Like, who thought this was a good idea?
And I'll just keep replying back, you did. This was your idea.
It's true. It was.
All right. This is the recording for April 23rd, 2026, and we have a lot to get to on episode 94 of the Og Pod. All right, let's do this. Let's go. You ready?
Yep.
Woo! All right, then let's get to it. It's time for the Ogre Nation News Update.
Roar.
Roar. All right, we're starting, as we do every week these days, with the war in Iran.
Yay.
Oh my God, it's going so well. Oh man, we're so winning. We're winning. Can't you just feel all the winning?
I do. I feel it, especially when I'm filling up my gas tank.
Oh yeah, you definitely feel it then, right in the wallet. So, this weekend, over the last couple of days, the United States has attacked and seized Iranian flagged ships, maybe 2 of them, because we're blockading the Strait of Hormuz now. It's really hard to say what's going on there because they lie about everything. The regime lies about everything. You literally cannot trust a single thing that they're saying about what's happening over there. Absolutely nothing. It's just nonstop propaganda to keep markets calm and, to allow tons of insider trading, which people are making billions of dollars on. But, we're Don't worry about that. I'm sure the Supreme Court will say it's legal. And also to pretend as everything is in our control.
I mean, lying to the extent that he went out on Friday and said that Iran agreed to all kinds of things that Iran did not agree to. Iran, I'm sorry, I'm trying.
Yeah, it's weird, right? It's like, how is it that we have to take Iran's word more over than over our own country?
It makes me
Which,
feel a little dirty.
yeah, it's insane that we have to believe a country that's been hostile to us for pretty much my entire lifetime, and I have to look to their media to see what's actually happening, because we cannot trust our own government, because they are just like pathological liars. Because even if things are going our way, they're still going to lie about it because they don't know how to do anything else. It's fucking insane that we're in this position.
Yeah. If only he had not gotten rid of this. You know, what was it? What was it? Oh, the Iran nuclear agreement that stopped all
Oh,
of this.
well, we're going to have a new Iran nuclear deal, and it's going to be even better. It'll be even better. It'll be exactly the same, except they'll have Trump's signature on the bottom, so therefore it'll be better.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So now, Trump on Tuesday, which we're recording on Wednesday, so this was yesterday, he was threatening to bomb and target civilian infrastructure again, which is still a war crime, by the way. But then he suddenly decided, I'm going to extend the ceasefire indefinitely. And he said this was at the request of Pakistan. So who fucking knows what's going on? Meanwhile, since we're blockading the Strait of Hormuz, Iran started to fire on ships trying to cross. That was today, this morning. Well, morning over there, which is, whatever. But they started shooting. They started shooting at container ships. They seized two of them, according to the Iranian Revolutionary Guard. Again, we don't necessarily know that's true, but we don't know that it's not true. They have less incentive to lie than Trump does. Well, okay, that's not necessarily true. They have incentive to lie, but they're less likely to do it because, they're not quite as fucking crazy and pathological as Trump and the regime, who
Oh, that's
only know how to
crazy.
lie.
That's crazy to think that our regime is more crazy than the Iranian regime.
I
Iranian regime.
Yeah, it's really disturbing. It's really depressing. So now in other Iranian news, and this was really fucking disturbing, we found out through the Wall Street Journal that Trump's own people intentionally excluded him from the Situation Room when the downed airman was being extracted during that entire operation, which is fucking insane. So this was a couple of weeks ago. The pilot,
Easter, I think.
yeah.
On
So
Easter.
remember, Iran shot down a couple of one of our planes, and two pilots were stuck behind enemy lines. We found one of them pretty quickly. The other one, though, we didn't know where they were. And Trump lost his fucking mind. He was screaming at everyone throughout the entire White House because he was panicking, because all he could think about was how Iran had hostages when Jimmy Carter was president, and how that made him look weak and it tanked his presidency, blah, 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 blah. Remember, Reagan committed treason to keep the hostages in Iranian hands through the 1980 election to help him win the election. This is something Republican presidents love to do. Reagan did it.
Nixon did.
Yep. Fucking treason, treason, treason. These are all treasonous fucking people. And, we should stop coddling them and start fucking putting people in jail and executing them for treason. Sorry, that's just how it should be. Now, they were worried that Trump being in the Situation Room, he was going to start barking orders that would make everything way worse and much more dangerous. So his aides kept him occupied and away from the Situation Room so he wouldn't interfere with this very delicate operation. Instead, because the Situation Room gets minute by minute updates, so instead of having him there getting the minute by minute updates, they gave him only meaningful moments. And they were seriously afraid his erratic behavior and temper would jeopardize the mission. Again, this is borderline fucking treason. But they had to do it because they had to get this guy out alive. And Trump definitely would have fucking gotten in the way because he would have started barking orders and they would have had to do it because he's the commander in chief. And this is where we are as a country, where our president is so fucking crazy and erratic, they cannot have him in the Situation Room, and yet somehow he's still allowed to be fucking president. We're not fucking 25thing him out of the fucking White House. But sure, okay, let's talk about how Joe Biden's too fucking old to do the job again. Where's Jake Tapper's book? I'm waiting for it. Where's his fucking book?
He was so old and he liked ice cream too much.
Oh my God. Oh, Jesus. Old
If
people
he had
and
worn
ice cream.
And remember, he fell off the bike that one time. Totally means. I mean, he rides bikes.
Yeah, really. Meanwhile, Trump can barely walk down a fucking flight of stairs without holding on to someone for dear life. But, hey, it's okay. We don't have to talk about that. Now, ironically,
about Bruno.
The Wall Street Journal the report by the Wall Street Journal also revealed Trump, of all people, is the person standing in the way of launching a full-scale ground attack on Karg Island. Now, you should have heard this name by now. Karg Island is this tiny little island right off the shore of the mainland of Iran, and it's where they have set up 90% of their oil exports go through there, right? It's set up to, that's where they load all of their ships. They pump all the oil there. They load their ships. It's just a very convenient place for them to do it. So it's a really vital piece of their infrastructure. Trump was threatening to blow it up, to which Iran said, if you attack that, we will destroy every fucking refinery in the Middle East, and there will be no oil for years. And Trump and his regime said, maybe we won't do that. And now people in his regime have been wanting to seize Karg Island because Iran is still shipping oil because we won't stop them because we need the oil. They're the only oil that's getting out of the Strait of Hormuz, and it has been this entire time. They've been making an awful lot of money off of that oil, but we don't dare stop it because that would make the energy crisis even worse. So we're not doing that. But taking control of Karg Island would absolutely stop that. And then two things would happen. It would cripple Iran economically, and they would immediately retaliate by blowing up everyone else's infrastructure, thus ending oil production in the Middle East for years. Now, Trump, in an unusually lucid moment, he does not want to do this because in order to take over the island, you have to keep people there. It's a very, very tiny island. There's no place to put troops where they will be safe from missiles and drones, which means they'll be sitting ducks and the body count would be through the fucking roof. And Trump is just absolutely not doing it. He just refused. He's refusing to do it. Now, it's not because he gives a shit about the troops. He doesn't suddenly care about American lives. What he cares about is all the flag-draped coffins coming home because of him and how that will make him look. So it's all about Trump, but in this particular instance, it's working out in the right way. He's doing something smart for the wrong reasons, but you know what? fine. At least he's doing something smart, even if it's for completely selfish, self-motivated reasons. So I don't know what the people around him are fucking thinking. Like, I know Trump's an idiot, but apparently he has surrounded himself with absolute fucking morons if they think seizing Karg Island would be anything but a complete and total fucking disaster. Because it's not like we can take Karg Island and then take the oil. That is not how that works.
Well, I think that's how they think it's going to work.
Like, it's not like the oil is on Karg Island. The oil comes from Iran and goes through Karg Island. That's like seizing the port, Manhattan's ports, and just assuming you're going to be able to get all of the stuff. It's like, you have to get it to the port first, dumbass. And if the ships stop coming and the goods stop coming, you ain't getting anything. You're just going to have an empty an empty harbor. I don't know. These people are fucking crazy. And thank God for Trump being a coward that he's not going along with this lunacy, because we will all be absolutely fucked. Which brings us to the next part of this. Energy Secretary Chris Wright said this week that the price of gas peaked last week. It's fine. Don't worry about it. It's not going to get any worse. We call bullshit on that. Now, if we understand it correctly, the last of the oil tankers that crossed the Strait of Hormuz before the war have reached their ports. Now, Asia had this happen first because Asia's closer than the rest of us, which is why their economies have been getting hammered, because oil got cut off to them way before everybody else. Europe got it a couple of weeks ago because Europe's closer than the rest of us, except for Asia. So now they're starting to get hit. The last of the tankers, remember, the tankers are fucking huge and they're very, very slow. The last of the tankers just got to us on Monday. So they got to the ports in California on Monday. That oil is going to be processed. It's going to be shipped across the country. And then that's it. No more. Well, 20% of the oil in the United States that we've been importing this entire time, because it's still been coming in, right? We started the attack 7 weeks ago, roughly. And after that, it took 7 weeks for all those tankers to get here. Now there's no more tankers, which means within a month, the last of that oil, that 20% of that oil, will have been processed and shipped throughout the country. And then we're going to have 20% less oil in this country, which means we're going to feel the oil shock the rest of the world's been feeling for the last couple of weeks or month. I don't know what that's going to look like, but sometime in May, maybe June, that's really going to hit us. And even if they magically reopen the strait tomorrow, which is not going to happen, it's going to take at least 6 to 7 weeks for the oil to start getting back here. So by the end of the spring, going into the summer, we're going to feel that oil shock, which is going to be a huge fucking problem. Go back and look at what happened in the 1970s, and you'll start getting an idea of what it looks like when an oil shock hits the United States, because that's coming.
Oh, I've actually heard stories about that from older people about how they had to wait in lines and the gas was rationed. And
I mean, I remember that barely because I was very, very young, but I don't remember too much about it. But here we are. And one last thing about this. Because we're so fucking stupid as a country, and we have a political party run by absolute fucking ideological lunatics, we have handed control of the global economy over to China. Twice we did this. First, we abandoned green energy when it was obvious that fossil fuels' time is fucking done. While China was like, screw this, we need wind, we need solar, we need hydropower. They were like investing billions and billions of dollars into every kind of alternate type of energy because they didn't want to be reliant on oil anymore and fossil fuel because it's a fucking disaster for them. Shanghai was a fucking disaster. Like the smog was unbelievable. And they're like, we got to do something about this. We can't keep living like this. So it just in order to cut down pollution, not because for greenhouse gases and not because save the environment. It was just for our own immediate health. We have to cut back, and it's cheaper, and it's safer, and it's cleaner. China has 1.3 billion people that they would like to live, so they started pouring enormous resources into green energy, and now we have proved that relying on fossil fuel is a national security risk because while the rest of the world is getting cut off from oil, China has put so much into their green energy, they're not getting hit nearly as hard, and countries are turning to them in order to pick up, solar panels and more wind turbines that we no longer produce, not nearly at the same scale, because the Trump regime went out of their way to cripple our industries. We should be the world leader in solar panels and wind turbines. Instead, we are like just losing the entire market to that to China, and they're going to be the fucking economic superpower because everybody now knows they need those technologies so they don't have to rely on fossil fuel. And honestly, if we didn't already know that Trump is a Russian puppet working for Vladimir Putin, we would have to wonder if he was working for China because he's given away so much of the global economy to China. Like only someone being paid directly by the Chinese government could be this fucking stupid. But here we are. All right, let us move on. Florida woman, what the fuck is happening at the FBI?
Oh, well, it appears that when you put a conspiracy theorist podcaster in charge of the FBI, it's not going so well. Who would have thought?
What? But wait, didn't they have two of them in charge? And wasn't everything just going just great?
Apparently, they were really concerned about what they were going to put on their Twitter feeds and not paying much attention to their jobs. So, if you've been following the news this week, then you know The Atlantic published a bombshell. I know that sometimes we, as people in the news, will say they published a bombshell report, but this really was quite a report. It opened up with a story about how on April 10th, Kash Patel was getting ready to leave for the day, and he tried to log onto his computer, and he couldn't get onto his computer for some reason. And all of a sudden, he freaked the fuck out and started calling people and saying, "Donald Trump has fired me. I'm fired. I don't have a job anymore. He fired me. He let me go." Which in turn led to a bunch of people in the FBI calling the White House and saying, "Hey, who's the new FBI director?" And the White House was like, "Kash Patel is the FBI director." And then Kash Patel was like, "Oh, I didn't get fired." And tech came and said, "Oh, there was just a technical glitch with the computer. No big deal."
Imagine that it actually got him fired. That would have been awesome.
Oh my God.
That would have been hilarious.
There was another little tidbit in the Atlantic report about Kash Patel apparently gets so drunk that they can't rouse him from his sleep. And at one point, he was locked behind doors. I don't know where he was. And his security team had to ask for breach equipment, like what a SWAT team would use, so they could break down the door to wake him up.
That's a hell of a door.
Also, what is our FBI doing passed out drunk? And, like, the FBI director is vital to our nation's security. We found out about this after September 11th. Remember, a lot of the reasons that September 11th happened was because there wasn't enough communications between the agencies. So, what the fuck is he doing? It's a full-time job.
But that's work, and podcasting's so much easier.
Right. Dozens of sources told The Atlantic that Patel is paranoid, which made me laugh because, yeah, he was a conspiracy theorist podcast host, and he's prone to jumping to conclusions, which we have all seen from his tweets. Remember when Charlie Kirk was killed, he was putting out tweets about the investigation. During the investigation, everybody was like, what were you doing?
And getting it wrong.
And getting it wrong. And then after the shooting in Rhode Island at the college, he said that they caught a suspect, but they actually hadn't. So this has happened multiple times where he's tweeting, he's like live tweeting investigations, and then he ends up being wrong, and it's causing a problem. Then, of course, we know that he had that whole meltdown on the plane because he didn't have an FBI jacket, like with the proper patches or something. Remember that?
He had to look tough.
He had to look tough, and he ended up taking a female staffer's jacket.
Because he's such a little petite guy.
Yeah. So the sources told the reporter, quote, his personal behavior has become a threat to public safety. And this is from The Atlantic. Quote, officials said that Patel has been an irregular presence at the FBI headquarters and in field offices, because he's drunk all the time. And that he has compounded the Bureau's existing bureaucratic bottlenecks. Several current and former officials told the reporter that Patel is often away or unreachable, delaying time-sensitive decisions needed to advance investigations. On several occasions, Patel's delays resulted in normally unflappable agents, quote, losing their shit. That's a big fucking deal. Like, the FBI handles missing persons, especially children, human trafficking investigations, terrorist investigations. Like, we need an FBI director who is doing his fucking job, or this country is at risk.
I mean, not for nothing. Even when, FBI directors tend to be Republicans, but they tend to be Republicans who give a shit about getting, dealing with real crime. And Kash Patel doesn't care about any of that.
Whatever Patrick said, I think he's the one who wrote on the bullets. I mean, maybe.
Maybe. Would you put it past him?
I mean, that would get some views on his podcast later. So what is Patel saying about this report? Well, of course, he's denying everything. And a reporter asked him recently, can you definitively say that you have not been intoxicated or absent during your tenure as FBI director? And instead of answering this softball question with, yes, I can say that I've not done any of that stuff, Patel said, I can say unequivocally that I never listened to the fake news mafia. This FBI director has been on the job twice as many days as every director before me. I've taken half as many days off. So that means, you're probably drunk all the time. And also, none of our FBI directors have a day off. Being the FBI director is like being the president. You don't have days off. You're always working. 24 hours a day. That's why him being drunk is so concerning. Have a drink, sure. Being so drunk that your security detail can't rouse you from your sleep is a big fucking problem.
Yeah, being blackout drunk is you don't get to do that when you're the fucking FBI director.
No, and if you want to get blackout drunk at the Poodle Room or whatever the fuck it was called in Las Vegas, like, maybe don't be FBI director. Go back to your podcasting. Talk about Jewish space lasers. So anyways, now Patel is suing the Atlantic for $250 million. Why not 100 billion kajillion? We believe that the suit is going to disappear quickly because, remember, if he sues the Atlantic, then he has to show that they were reporting, because he wants to sue that, or he's suing for defamation of character. He has to prove that they were wrong and that they reported to intentionally defame him because he's a public figure. So what does that mean? That means discovery. And he doesn't want to go through the discovery process.
No, he does not.
We want him to go through the. I hope the suit keeps going, because I can't wait to see that discovery.
It's like, Mr. Patel, Director Patel, we have receipts here for 30 bottles of Jack Daniels. Can you explain that, sir?
Sir, you were investigating P. Diddy, and we saw this charge for baby oil. Can you please tell us why that's no? Okay.
You.
So, of course, Patel is trying to hold on to his job by promising that he is going to make arrests in the imaginary rigging of the 2020 election, because apparently we're still talking about that. He was recently on Fox News with Marita. She does have the brain of a loaf of bread. Maria Bartiromo. She asked him, "Do you have anything to tell us about the 2020 election being rigged against President Trump?" And Patel responded, "Absolutely. I'm never going to let this go. They tried to rig the entire system. That's something I'm not going to allow. We are going to be making arrests. I promise you it's coming soon." And as you can imagine, he said this with the hugest eyes imaginable. Just those eyes were bugging.
Yeah. Every fucking Republican accusation is a confession, and they're not gonna be able to fucking arrest anybody. They're not gonna. Well, I mean, I'm sure they'll arrest somebody or press charges, and none of it'll stick because, again, in American courts, you have to provide evidence. You have to, and they can't. So they're gonna show up and it's like, "We have proof. Where is it?" "Well, it's classified. You'll have to trust us." And it's like, "Okay, get the fuck out of my courtroom. Thank you. Bye."
Thank you. Next. He's going to start singing Ariana Grande.
All right. We could have put this in our next segment, but it just wasn't quite stupid enough. But we do live in the stupidest timeline. And
we do.
This week, it belongs only to our favorite Secretary of Defense, Pete Kegsbreath. Anyway, so if you haven't heard by now, you had to have heard this by now. Pete Hegseth got up during his, Pentagon prayer session, which is completely fucking unconstitutional, and he altered what he thought was a real Bible verse so he could pound his chest. Oh, he's so manly, while talking about the rescue operation to find the downed pilot that they kept Trump away from. And while he was mangling this Bible verse, people noticed that it was not actually from the Bible. It was actually from Pulp Fiction. This was based on an Ezekiel quote that Quentin Tarantino took, and he altered it to fit better with the movie. And it was an homage to an old kung fu flick. And he altered it. And that's the one that everyone knows that Samuel L. Jackson delivered in Pulp Fiction. It's a great scene. It's fucking cool as shit. And Pete Hegseth apparently thought it was a real Bible verse, and he altered it to fit, the circumstances of the thing with the downed pilot, because he thought it would sound cool. And everybody mocked the shit out of him afterwards because it's a fucking clown show. I have not seen one single thing so far where Pete Hegseth is like, "Oh no, I knew it was Pulp Fiction the whole time." I haven't seen him claim that yet, which suggests that he did not know that it was Pulp Fiction. I mean, he obviously got it from that, but I think he just believed it was a real, an honest to goodness Bible verse. And mind you, this is a white Christian nationalist who thumps his Bible and swears that he's like the best Christian ever, blah, 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 blah.
Who has a crusader tattoo on his chest.
Right. It's like, Jesus, I love Jesus. Oh, I read the Bible. My Bible, except he clearly has not read it. He just watched Pulp Fiction. So, fucking embarrassing.
Well, in other Pete Hegseth news, the dumbest Secretary of Defense in history announced that soldiers would no longer be required to get the flu vaccine if they didn't want to. He went on this whole spiel about how if they were going to put their lives on the line for the country and they've decided to fight for us and they were warriors, and they could make the decision about whether or not to get the flu vaccine because it's their body and their choice. And while he didn't exactly say those words, that's the vibe. Which is really funny because Pete Hegseth doesn't believe that women should have the right to decide what's right for their bodies. It's almost like the rules only apply to men. I wonder why that is. And also, Mr. Military Expert has obviously never seen what happens on a ship when there's a COVID or a flu outbreak. I mean, think about it. There's hundreds of soldiers or hundreds of Navy men. I'm so sorry to those of you who are in the Navy.
Sometimes up to 1,000. Some of those ships are really fucking big.
Yeah, really fucking big. So hundreds of people in close quarters. Their bunks. Have you ever seen their bunks? They're literally stacked on top of each other. Imagine one person gets the flu. Well, we don't have to imagine because in 1918, the flu killed 26,000 soldiers and crippled the U.S. military. Between 40 and 60% of U.S. soldiers were sick. And that is why the military made flu vaccines, mandated flu vaccines in the first place. So all he has to do is read a little bit, but maybe he didn't get to that part of the training when he was a major.
Now, it's really important to remember, right? There's like, oh, it's choice. We have to have the choice. You have to have a choice. You have to have the choice, right? I'm promising you, the longer we go down this anti-vaxxer road, they do this with everything. We've talked about this before. It will become, well, it's my choice not to take the vaccine, and they will sooner or later get to, well, it's my choice not to take the vaccine, but it's also my choice to make sure you're not allowed to take the vaccine.
Oh, it always happens. And that's what happens with abortion. Yep. It's my choice not to have an abortion, but now I'm going to decide that you can't have an abortion either. Your body, my choice.
Yep, they will absolutely 100% get to, actually, we're going to ban the vaccine because we think it's unsafe. I mean, RFK Jr. has been working for this since the second he got into power. It's not just enough to say, well, you don't have to take vaccines. He has to make sure no one's allowed to take vaccines because they do not believe in vaccines, because these people are eugenicists. They only believe in survival of the fittest. And if you get sick and die, well, then you were not strong enough to survive and you deserve it, which is not how that works.
And we saw that during COVID. They literally, I mean, I'm in Florida and my governor was like, let everybody get it and develop natural immunity. Well, guess what happened? Lots of people fucking died. Yep. I think 1.4 million people died during COVID across the United States.
And the only thing that gives me any kind of soothing, balm about that is that more Republicans died than anyone else because they committed suicide. They literally ran out there to commit suicide.
Yeah, it was crazy.
In the name of Trump, they killed themselves. It was like, thank you, go ahead, be a cultist. Too bad they took so many other people with them.
And meanwhile, Trump was vaccinated against it the whole time.
Exactly. Idiots. They're just all fucking idiots.
They're all dumb. And that's why we live in the stupidest timeline. So, on to our next segment, headlines for short attention spans. And speaking of anti-vaxxers, Secretary Whaleblood, RFK Jr., wants to remake the panel that decides what preventative services insurers must cover under the Affordable Care Act.
Speaking of eugenicist.
Yeah, so there's a 16-member panel called the U.S. Preventative Services Task Force that gives recommendations for what should be covered under the ACA. Now, remember, the ACA requires by law to cover preventative things like cancer screenings and birth control, although the Supreme Court did fuck with that a little bit, and stuff like that. Well, they're currently working on drafts for introducing allergens earlier to children to prevent food allergies, autism screening in young children, and breast cancer risk assessment. Well, RFK Jr. was like, this panel is too woke, and said that he is going to reduce all of its members and pick his own panel. And HHS canceled 3 of the 4 meetings that they were supposed to hold since Trump took office. Now, we all remember when RFK Jr. replaced all of the members of the panel that gives vaccine recommendations. And what happened with that? They changed the vaccine schedule because of it. What do you think is going to happen when RFK Jr. puts a bunch of loons on this panel and this decides what gets covered in all of our health insurance plans?
Can't wait. So excited.
I can tell you one thing that probably won't be covered anymore: vaccines.
Yeah, they'll do that. They'll get rid of that. And well, we don't need to check for breast cancer as frequently, maybe once every 15 years. And do we have to screen for autism? I think kids are getting over diagnosed with autism. We should change the diagnosis for autism. So, it's just too many. And kids are going to start falling through the cracks there. And I can.
Wait, I can't hear you anymore. I can't hear you anymore.
There we go.
Okay.
I can tell you from personal experience, early intervention is absolutely crucial. I've met parents who didn't get their kids diagnosed until they were like 7 or 8 years old, and it was catastrophic for them. They lost 3, 4, 5 years when their kid could have been getting early intervention, and like a week's worth of early intervention is worth 6 months when they're older. A week's worth when they're 3 is worth 6 or 7 months when they're 7 or 8.
I can attest to that because my son wasn't diagnosed with ADHD and ODD until he was 6. And I wish, even though I had brought it up with the doctor numerous times before then, I wish that he had been diagnosed when he was 3, because then it would have given us more time to get him therapy, and maybe he wouldn't have had such a hard time integrating into school with other students.
Yep, it makes a huge fucking difference. All right, let's get to a little bit of good news here. Last night, or yesterday, Virginia had its redistricting vote. I took Lila to go vote early last weekend, I believe it was, and the results came in. I was watching it last night. It was updating live. About 15 minutes, 20 minutes before it was over, I was pretty sure that it was done. We were behind by like maybe 60, 70,000 votes, and Fairfax County had not been counted yet. Fairfax County is huge. Like a shit ton of people live there, and it's very, very blue. When Fairfax County dropped, poof, it flipped over from no was ahead to yes, and that was it. They called it because there was no chance for the no votes to catch up again. So, haha. Now, it was a lot closer than I would have liked.
It is Virginia, though.
This is true. So we won by about 90,000 votes total. That was like maybe 3 or 4 percentage points for how many people voted. There was a ton of dark money poured into this election on both sides. It was over $100 million spent on just this one vote, which was to add a temporary constitutional amendment to allow Virginia to redraw its maps. Now, as always, Republicans just lied their asses off. They went all in on deceiving the public. They ran a ton of ads featuring Obama. Now, our side did that too. Obama came in and he was campaigning to vote yes. What Republicans did was they went and they took clips of him from several years ago when he and Eric Holder had been putting together a group to fight against gerrymandering. Because in the whole thing is gerrymandering is bad, right? It's bad for democracy. It's bad for voters. It's bad for political parties because, it tends to give you more extreme candidates. So Obama and Eric Holder, his attorney general, or one of his attorney generals, had been trying to, build a coalition to end gerrymandering, or at least, downplay it, like,
Well,
to weaken it.
yeah, and that was after the Supreme Court ruling that political gerrymandering was fine. It was fine. No big deal.
So he was out there. He'd been campaigning for it. They've been, working against that. And Republicans used his old quotes without context or telling you when he had said these things to say Obama's against is against gerrymandering. Vote no. Vote with Obama. Anastasia saw a ton of these. She was like, "Why is he on both sides of this?" And I had to explain to her. She was like, "Oh, yeah, that's typical Republican scumbaggery type stuff." And the tell was they never showed like recent video of him. They didn't show video of him at all because one, the old video you would know that it's old, right? Because it was from like several years ago, and he looked a lot younger. And you would know what he was talking about if you actually heard him speaking, as opposed to like taking one or two sentences from a longer speech. So they took stuff out of context in order to make it seem like he's opposed to the gerrymandering. Don't vote for the gerrymandering. Whereas the Democrats were running recent stuff and he was out there, campaigning, yada, yada, yada. Still, it was confusing, which was the point because Republicans always try to confuse the public. Anyway, they had to do this for a good reason because Virginia can give Democrats up to 4 more seats, which neutralizes Texas, which is a problem for them. Florida is going to respond by rewriting their maps, but we've talked about this before. Democrats have been creating safe blue seats because we're heading towards a wave election. Republicans have been creating diluted seats that are extremely vulnerable to a wave election. So the 5 seats that Republicans gave themselves, mind you, they didn't take a vote for it. They just rewrote the maps without any input from the public. At least 3 of those seats may actually flip because they made them to be Republican, but they may flip to Democrats because they're not safe in a wave election. They're only like, plus 10 Republican. And if the wave election is plus 11 or more, they lose those seats. So we don't know what Florida's going to do.
But we do. We know what Florida's going to do.
Well, I mean, they're gonna rewrite their maps, but
yeah, but they're going to do the same thing that Texas did.
And how many of those seats are going to be within the margins? They have to know making their seats within the margin of a wave election is dangerous. But how do you avoid it? You have to dilute the blue vote. But the only way to dilute the blue vote is to put it in safe red districts, which dilutes that red vote. So, they're going to have computers try to work this out as best they can. But if they do it to the maximum to give themselves as many red seats as possible, they may face the same problem Texas is facing. In a hardcore blue wave election, they could lose seats as opposed to gain them, which is the whole point of this. So we're going to have to see how Florida tries to redraw their maps. They're going to do it, but how are they going to do it?
Oh, I can't wait to see.
Now, as of right now, the net effect, as of right now, is that Republicans are losing the redistricting war. They've lost seats. And, they've had a whole bunch of Republicans. A lot of Republicans are quitting because they're just looking at that wave and say, yeah, screw this. I'm out. I'm not dealing with this. So this may end up being a spectacular cell phone. So good job, Trump. Woo. There is a slim chance that the Virginia State Supreme Court could strike down the referendum, but I don't think that's likely. This was a vote to temporarily change the Constitution to allow this, and it was voted on by the public, and the public said yes. what more do you need? Right? Like, I mean, like, what would the Supreme Court of Virginia be saying if, hey, the public voted on this change to the Constitution, we think that's unconstitutional? That doesn't sound very Supreme Courty. I mean, it sounds like something the real Supreme Court would do because they're Republicans. But it doesn't sound like something a state Supreme Court would do. And our state Supreme Court is not completely dominated by Republicans. So I don't know. Now, one last thing. The Washington Post editorial board. Oh my fucking God.
Was this the actual board, or was this just an opinion by some random?
No, this was the actual editorial board.
Oof.
This is the fucking headline. Sit down. Hold on to your seats. Take a deep breath. Opinion. Virginia plunges America deeper into the gerrymandering abyss. And here's the byline, which is like just a fucking chef's kiss. The redistricting scheme was always a power grab by Democrats. Voters went along with it.
Who the fuck wrote this?
The editorial board. Let me tell you something.
Who's on the editorial board? Roger Stone?
They can absolutely go fuck themselves. 5 ways from Sundays with a sideways dildo with spikes on it. Who the fuck do you think you are?
That sounds kind of fun.
Like, oh my fucking God. The fucking absolute gall of these prick bastards to like the nerve of them to even dare fucking write that headline with that fucking line underneath it. A fucking power. It's temporary.
And in response, too.
And it's in response. So we didn't plunge nothing anywhere deeper to the gerrymandering mess. That was all fucking Republicans. You don't get to fucking say, oh my God, you're fighting back. I can't believe you're making things worse. Fuck you. Eat a bag of fucking dicks. I do not remember a single fucking headline from them about Texas crying, oh my God, how could Texas do this? This is so terrible. This is a power grab. They never fucking call this shit power grabs when fucking Republicans do this. It's only a power grab when Democrats do it. When Republicans do it, it's smart politics. It's hardball politics. When it's Democrats, it's a power grab. This is what a fucking biased media looks like.
Clock it.
What's that?
I said clock it.
Yeah, when this is over and this fucking regime falls, the Washington Post should be fucking investigated, because who are they fucking taking money from? If Jeff Bezos is telling them,
well, it's Jeff Bezos.
Yeah, if Jeff Bezos is telling them, you have to write this shit because I have business in front of the government, then the fucking government should crush Jeff Bezos. It's like, I'm sorry. If you're fucking enabling a fascist regime, well, then when the fascist regime falls, you fucking go with it. And they should fucking investigate Amazon until it no longer exists.
Well, hold on now. Hold on now. I'm currently sitting at my brother's desk, and he works for Amazon. So let's not get crazy.
Well, they should break it up, sell it into smaller companies. He can work for one of those. But what the fuck, man? Absolutely what the fuck?
Yeah, I'm crazy. Well, onto the you are all worked up over there.
I saw that. I saw that this morning. I was just like, oh, you motherfuckers.
Yeah, and actually, technically, my brother works for a third-party contractor that works for Amazon, so he should be okay. Maybe. Anyways. Whew. So on to the Supreme Court. Yay.
Speaking of corruption.
So the most corrupt Supreme Court justices on the Supreme Court, Clarence Thomas and Samuel Alito, are reportedly refusing to resign this year. Remember last week, the week before, we told you about how Samuel Alito was apparently or allegedly sick, and he was in the hospital, and it was just kind of leaked. and it seemed suspicious, almost like Republicans wanted to use that as a reason that he should be, he should resign. And everybody was kind of like, well, Alito is 76, so that would make sense if he resigns at this point, right? And Thomas is 77, and we told you that the only way that they could ensure that they kept the Supreme Court majority is if they resigned this year before the midterms, but definitely before January when the new Senate takes power, because it looks like we're going to win. Well, go ahead.
Yeah, no, it's definitely trending in our favor.
Yeah. Well, it turns out the justices don't want to resign. I mean, Clarence Thomas obviously isn't going to want to resign when he has his buddy, that billionaire, giving him 4-star vacations or 5-star vacations and paying for his nephew to go to school.
So nice of him.
And Alito just loves to hear himself speak. I mean, look at his stupid ass opinions on the court. These two guys don't care about the Republican Party. I mean, they do, but they care more about themselves and their own power. So I never thought that they could be pushed out. And it appears that I was right. And without them being pushed out, Trump's not going to be able to nominate a 4th justice. Because remember, he put three on the bench when he was in office the first time. 2 of them were stolen. And now, he was really hoping that he could solidify his mark on the court by nominating a 4th and maybe a 5th. But it doesn't look like that's going to happen. Now, if they don't leave the court, that could put the Supreme Court's conservative majority in danger. Because remember, right now it's only 6-3. So if those 2 die in the next president's term, which we believe will be a Democrat, they could flip the court back the other way. And that's what we want, because that could undo some of the damage that was done. But we'll have to wait and see what happens.
I am still very, very surprised at this. I honestly am super, super surprised. Like, I was sure that the billionaires that own Thomas would tell him, you want that money to keep coming in? Resign. If you do not resign, you will no longer get any money from us. And the only reason Thomas is doing this job is because he's getting a lot of money from billionaire benefactors. And he's putting that all in jeopardy by not resigning. And Alito takes some bribes, not nearly as much as Thomas, but he's a Federalist Society guy, right? Yeah. And they had to be telling him, it's like, you're putting it all at risk. And I'm praying that both of them are letting their egos do the talking. And that when Democrats win in November, that one or both of them don't suddenly decide, yeah, maybe I should resign. And then, give Republicans 2 months to find their replacement, because they'll push it through in 2 months. That they did it already. They did it with
they did it with Amy Coney Barrett.
Right. So I'm praying they don't do that, because if they refuse and there's Democrats in office, there's no fucking way they're going to let Trump appoint another justice. Like, they have to know, if they agree to replace either one of them or both, that's electoral suicide. Whenever they up for a re-election, they will not be reelected. They will be primaried out of existence, and they all like their jobs too much. So, except for what's his name, Fetterman. I'm sure Fetterman will vote for whoever they put in front of him, but they won't replace them, and they'll just like, yeah, sorry, we have to leave that seat open and let the people decide, because those are the rules.
Yeah.
Those were Mitch McConnell's rules. We're just following those rules. And Republicans were somehow thinking that, if there's an opening, that'll make it a referendum on the Supreme Court, and that'll help us with turnout. And it's like, that used to help you. That would jazz out your base, but it's really, really going to jazz out our base. Because I believe we've learned our lesson after 2016 and 2024, that a rogue Supreme Court can do an enormous amount of damage. But one word of warning, and I will repeat this over and over and over. if they stay in office, if they do not step down and Democrats take power, they take control of the Senate in 2028, Republicans will set the planet on fire to keep a Democrat from taking power as president, because Alito will be in his 80s over the course of 8 years with a Democrat in power, which will, let's see, 2 years. In 2 years he'll be 78, which means 8 years of a Democrat, he'll be 86. Thomas will be 87. Neither one of them are going to make it that far. They're just not going to make it all the way to the end of an 8-year Democratic term, which means they're going to lose control of the court. And losing control of the court is the end of the Republican Party, which means they will burn the planet to cinders to keep a Democrat from getting into office in 2028. They will stage a coup. The alt-left will be out in force. One of the things I guarantee they're going to do is they're going to be out there screaming about Israeli genocide again, because they haven't been bothered to do that for the entire time Trump's been in office. But they're going to be out there again screaming about Israeli genocide in 2028 and saying, oh my God, Democrats, Israeli genocide. What about Trump? Well, I don't care about Trump. It's been 4 years. Why aren't you talking about Trump and Israeli genocide? No. Just Democrats. Because they will do anything to keep a Democrat from getting to office. Anything. Because they know the Supreme Court will be at stake if these two do not leave office by the end of this year. So I know I talk about this a lot. You have to pay attention to this type of shit. You have to know who your enemies are. And even the legacy press knows if the Democrats take back the Supreme Court, even if it's just for 3 years, everything Republicans have ever worked for ends. So they also do not want that, because they like the status quo. They don't like progress, which is why they always sabotage Democrats when Democrats are in power or running for office. It's a very consistent pattern. So if they stay, 2028 is going to be one of the ugliest elections in history. It's going to make 2020 and 2024 look like cakewalks. So be prepared for that shit. And do not listen to the people telling you Democrats are just as bad. Don't vote for Democrat. You have to vote blue just to fucking take the court back. As much as I don't like Gavin Newsom, I would fucking vote for Gavin Newsom, because whoever he appoints to the Supreme Court is going to be wildly to the left of Thomas and Alito, which means we take back the court and it all ends for Republicans.
Yeah, and it's very important that we do not allow the stupid motherfuckers to say, like they did in 2016, they're just trying to scare us with the court. Like, obviously.
Well, for good fucking reason.
Obviously, we have the evidence now.
Yeah, seriously. I mean, how much more? It's like, oh, well, it won't be that bad. I'm sorry. Roe versus Wade. How many fucking women have died so far? And the press doesn't talk about that regularly. For some strange reason, they don't fucking talk constantly about how many women have been killed by this. So weird. Now, speaking of SCOTUS, they are setting themselves up to strip same-sex and trans parents of even more of their rights, this time by punishing their kids. So the court has decided to hear a case. They did this on Monday, and this is going to be for the next term. They're going to decide whether or not Catholic preschools in Colorado will enroll little children with gay or transgender parents. And they took this case. These are schools that take public money, right? This is publicly funded private schools, or Catholic schools, and they do not want to admit children from parents they don't like, because it violates their religious freedom, blah, 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 blah. It's like, the fucking kid didn't do anything. Why are you punishing the kid because you don't like with their parents? The kid has nothing to do with it. But as far as they're concerned, they should be able to punish the kid because they don't like the parents. And that is one step away from we don't accept kids with gay parents to we don't accept kids with Muslim parents or Jewish parents or atheist parents. And then it goes to we don't accept black kids or Latinos. And you know what? We don't accept girls because our religion said so. And it's just one step after the other, after the other, after the other, until you get to exactly what the right has always wanted, to exclude all the people they think are less than. And that's what they're inevitably working their way towards: segregation and oppression, because they're fucking monsters. All right, let us move on.
Well, speaking of SCOTUS being monsters, as we know, they got rid of Roe v. Wade, which, as he just mentioned, led to the deaths of countless women. Well, two of those women died in Texas, and the Texas State Medical Board recently sanctioned three of the doctors who were involved in the deaths of Portia and Guzme and Gumezi. Portia and Gumezi. I knew I was going to fuck it up, even though I put it there. And Nevaeh Crane. Both women died of miscarriages in Texas a couple of years ago. The three doctors who were sanctioned by the Texas board were barely punished. Now, they could have imposed fines, they could have taken away their medical license, they could have done all sorts of things, but instead, all they did was give them 8 hours of continuing education in the next year.
Wow.
8 hours.
Wow. So that's what a life is worth. 8 hours.
8 hours. So the one doctor, Dr. Ali Muhammad Osman, did not investigate 18-year-old Nevaeh's stomach cramps during her first emergency room visit and sent her home with a prescription for strep throat instead, a prescription of antibiotics for strep throat. She was in crippling pain, and she went to another hospital where she met with Dr. William Noel Hawkins, an OBGYN, who discharged her with 103-degree fever, a positive sepsis screening, and the fetus had an abnormally high heartbeat. She went to a third doctor, and that doctor also neglected her, but the state medical board didn't investigate them for some reason. Nevaeh ended up dying, 18 years old. Her baby died too. In the other case, the case of Portia, she was seen by Dr. Andrew Ryan Davis. She was having a miscarriage. She was 11 weeks along, and she was bleeding really, really, really profusely, okay? And he, instead of giving her a DNC, which is the normal procedure to stop the bleeding, to evacuate the uterus and stop the bleeding, he gave her misoprostol, which is the abortion drug, and is only given with low-risk miscarriages. He also did not collect the blood to see how much she was bleeding or anything, and she ended up bleeding to death.
Now, this is what happened to Mrs. Oger in her first miscarriage. They would have fucking killed her. This is why I wrote an article. They would have killed my wife. This is exactly why I wrote that article. They would have murdered her for this, because they didn't want to get in trouble with the law because we don't do abortions. Like, she's already miscarrying. It's not a fucking abortion if she's miscarrying.
Right. So there's a lot of criticism of the Texas Medical Board and medical boards in general because they haven't been playing an active role in giving the doctors in their states, guidelines to encounter these things. And I think that that's true, right? Like, they should be involved for sure. But also, doctors we're always talking about how we should trust doctors, right? Our side, trust doctors, trust doctors. Like, doctors have an obligation to do their jobs. Their first part of their Hippocratic oath is what? Do no harm, right? They have an obligation to give a person who's bleeding like that a DNC, no matter what the law says or what they think the law says, or if they're afraid that they're going to be at risk. That's why you have malpractice attorneys. That's why you have criminal defense attorneys if you get charged. But just letting somebody die is fucking barbaric. and horrific. I can't believe they should have had their licenses revoked. The fact that they walked away without anything really happening just fucking disgusts me.
All
And
right.
we'll fight for the doctors, right?
Yeah, no, if they fucking do what they're supposed to do, if they save lives, then we will fight for them. But if they just sit there and say, well, I have to protect myself, it's like, well, then stop being a doctor.
Yeah, stop being a doctor. And I say that as somebody whose son's going to school to be a surgeon. Assholes. Anyways,
All right. So another one bites the dust. Dun, dun, dun. Another one bites the dust. Let us say farewell to Labor Secretary Lori Chavez de Ramir.
Can I just interrupt really quickly and say that that song, Another One Bites the Dust, is my uncle, the one who has cancer, his wedding song with my aunt who passed away a few years ago. Anyways.
Very cute.
Yeah.
So Chavez de Ramir is the third cabinet member in the past month after Kristi Noem and Pam Bondi to get axed. So sad. Isn't it weird how they're all women? So weird. So weird. Anyway, Chavez de Ramir spent most of her time in office apparently partying and drinking, which seems to be a theme for the Trump regime. Her husband sexually assaulted 2 Labor Department staffers and was banned from the building. Rachel Maddow reported on Monday that Secretary Chavez Ramir told her young female staffers to pay attention to her husband and her father, both who felt entitled to sexually pursue her staff. It's no, I can't imagine why she was forced out. Actually, the question is why it took so long. Right now, Trump is trying to throw people under the bus to make it look like he's actually in control, except it just makes him look like he's more out of control because these people are like deeply fucking damaged. He's got a regime filled with alcoholics, perverts, rapists, all kinds of damaged and incompetent people. It's fucking crazy. But he has to surround himself with these type of people because they're the only ones who will do anything he says and never push back on him. And that was the quote unquote mistake he made in his first regime, is that he tried to hire competent people who actually knew how to do their jobs, and they would not do all of the crazy illegal shit that he demanded of them, which is why he had to fire so many of them. Now he just hires anyone who looks good on TV who's willing to do literally any criminal thing he says.
And people who also have eyes that are like,
yeah, he does like the bug-eyed people, or the people who will just sit there and quietly rubber stamp whatever Stephen Miller tells them to do and whatever Russ Vought tells them to do. Yeah, and just be figureheads as their departments get dismantled. So Chavez de Ramir is just the latest victim of using her office to party hardy because she's not really there to do any work, right? She's just a figurehead. So why not have fun? Why not go party on the taxpayer dollar? Why not just have a wild year of wilding out? And now she's gone.
This was a crazy New York Times story about the stuff that was happening in her office. I mean, you don't even think about the labor secretary generally. I didn't even know her name, to be honest with you, because the labor secretary position is not something that you really think about unless you're, an economist or something. So to just hear about the sex scandal in the labor department, I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, she was just there to just party. She was not there to actually do the work. She was there to party and just rubber stamp whatever she was told to rubber stamp.
And apparently Daddy and her husband were too.
Right. And it's like what is wrong with these people? This is the type of shit that you saw in the fucking Nazi regime, where it was just like sex pests and perverts and alcoholics and junkies because they were just damaged and sick people. And that's who Hitler surrounded himself with, because they would do literally anything, because this was their only shot at power. How else are they ever going to get this close to power unless they're willing to do literally anything that they're told to do? And since you're there, Might as well party while Rome is burning.
Right. I mean, well, the Obama guys from Pod Save America were talking about that, how Trump's cabinet is filled with people who are, morally incompetent and horrible people, and all of the terrible things that they are, because Trump knows that those are the people that will do whatever he wants them to do, because they don't have any moral standing to begin with.
Right, and they'll never get this close to power again.
Exactly. So, well, on to another immoral department. The Todd Blanche, who is now the Attorney General, the acting Attorney General, announced an 11-count indictment against the Southern Poverty Law Center. The charges are bank fraud, wire fraud, and conspiracy to commit money laundering. He claims that the SPLC was funding extremism by paying informants to infiltrate hate groups like the KKK.
Good luck with
Because,
that.
yeah, apparently the organization paid about $3 million to informants so they could get information about these groups, which, how else are they going to get information about these groups? It's
I mean,
standard practice.
yeah, these people are risking their lives because if they got caught, they would have been killed.
Risking their lives. Yeah, I mean, it's not much different than what the FBI does, except they get no reward at the end with an arrest. So, experts, though, are calling the case against the Southern Poverty Law Center odd, and said that they don't believe that the DOJ is going to be able to prove those charges. And we all know that this is a bullshit investigation, because conservatives hate the Southern Poverty Law Center. They fucking hate it. Because they are going after the extremists that they're going after every single day are Republicans, conservatives. Sure, they do have, like, left leaning groups on their list, but if you go to their website and you look at the militias and all of the terrorist organizations, domestic terrorist organizations that they track, I would wager a guess that 85% of them are right wing organizations.
At least.
At
This
least.
is this is what we were talking about last week or the week before with Jack Prosobiec. They're just trying to fabricate this link between organizations on the left and extremism and criminal activity so they can just make all of it illegal. I mean, they're going after Act Blue
Oh
as
yeah,
well.
they've been trying so hard. When I worked for the company that I worked for before AI killed my job, I've talked about this before. They had a whole, like, conservative division that, and one of the websites was funded by the Republican National Committee. And I cannot tell you how many stories that those websites pumped out about Act Blue. Like, they could seriously thought Act Blue was, a front for Antifa.
Right. And again, every Republican accusation is a confession. And Republicans are absolutely going to regret normalizing this. Democrats have, for a really, really long time, they've resisted going all in on investigating the hundreds of far right groups that have been funded by Russia and Hungary and right wing billionaires, where even just a minor investigation would reveal just how corrupt and dangerous these groups are. And now we can do that. We can just do that once we get back in power. And, we purge the FBI of all the crazy people that Kash Patel has in there. We can just start doing that. And when the right goes, oh my God, they're weaponizing, we can just say, hey, that's what you guys were doing. And you said it was fine. Are you saying it wasn't fine when Trump was doing? Are you saying he was weaponizing the DOJ? Because if you're going to say that, then we can have that conversation. If it wasn't weaponization when Trump was doing it, then it's not weaponization now. They started it. We're just continuing their fine work. So, yeah, they're definitely going to fucking regret doing this. All right. I just want to have a quick little commentary here. I did not go online. I did not go on Substack or, Blue Sky. I didn't really have anything to say much about the Rape Academy.
Are we talking about the CNN report about the tens of thousands of people?
Yes.
Visit the website.
Now, the reason I didn't get into this too deeply is because I didn't have anything particularly useful to add to the conversation. I am not a woman, and almost every single woman on my feed had something really, really serious to say about it. They were very angry, they were disgusted, they had plenty to say about it, and I did not feel I had anything particularly useful to add to the conversation. So I didn't say anything. The only thing I added to the conversation was that while none of the many men that I know or have known throughout my life, none of them have been accused or even rumored to be a rapist, statistically speaking, some of them were. It had to be. There's no chance of all the men I've known in my life that none of them were a rapist. There's just too many men that have raped or sexually assaulted women that nobody I know has not engaged in that activity. And it's not something that I like to think about, but it just has to be a fact. There's just no way that I'm just one of those lucky people where no one I know happens to sexually assault or rape a woman. It's reality. That's something I have to deal with and that we have to deal with as a society. There's way too many men that do this type of thing. That was my contribution, because there's way too many men who just their reaction is, well, I'm not like that, and none of the men I know are like that. And that's why I ended up writing an article essentially telling one of these guys to shut the fuck up. Nobody needs to hear you whining about how you're the fucking victim here. Shut the fuck up. If your response to women raging about an online rape academy where tens of thousands of men have been passing around pictures and videos. Now, and it's not just one, there's multiple of these websites. There's multiple of these Telegram chats. CNN only talked about 2 of them. There's, I don't even know how many. So this is not some little tiny limited thing. There was the thing in France where some guy had men pay him, and I don't remember how many it was. It was dozens, it was a couple hundred, I don't remember, to drug and rape his wife over the course of years. This is a widespread thing. If your reaction to women being nauseated by this and being enraged by this is to complain about how, well, it's not all men, don't attack all men, I don't know any men like that, you need to shut the fuck up. You're not fucking helping. Sit down, shut your fucking mouth, let women be fucking angry. They get to be fucking angry about this. You don't get to be angry because it's not you, it's not your friends. You don't fucking know that. You don't know what they do every moment of their fucking lives. You do not know if all of your friends are good people who would never sexually assault or rape a woman. You don't fucking know. Shut up. Now, the other person was the friendly little TERF that showed up and say, well, trans women also sexually assault, blah, blah, blah. Oh my fucking God. You too, sit down, shut the fuck up. Nobody needs to know what you have to say about trans women when we're talking about fucking rape academies. It's unfucking necessary. Take your fucking bigotry, shove it up your ass, go sit over there. Nobody fucking cares. That's not the conversation. No one cares about your bigotry. No one cares that, oh, trans women, no, just leave it alone. Divert your fucking energy from bigotry. Go fucking protect trans kids. Do something productive with your fucking life. Okay, that's it. Just people should sit down and shut the fuck up.
As somebody who has been sexually molested, I would agree. So let's move on.
All right, it's time for some self-care. That was some of my self-care. But the actual self-care of the week, I am continuing to see a therapist for my anxiety depression. I had a I
I
had
didn't
a
know that you started.
yeah, no, this is my third week. Thursday will be my third session.
Yeah, I thought you said you were going to call them, but I didn't know that you actually had it.
No. It's I've been doing online conversations.
Oh, like I suggested. It's actually great.
But I had a not great day on Wednesday, but it ended on a happy note, so it was much better. I'm gonna write about it in my second anxiety journal probably this week or maybe next week. But it's been pretty smooth sailing otherwise. Saturday, I took Jordan to see the BTS live stream in the movie theater, which was really fucking cool. Like they were BTS was like the biggest band in the world, right? They're a K-pop band and they are the most popular group in the world. They were playing at the Tokyo Dome in Japan, and we got to watch the concert live, which was awesome. Now, I'm not a huge BTS fan. I like them, but I'm not a huge fan. Jordan loves them. So he got up and he danced a whole bunch of times while we were watching, and we stayed for the entire 2.5 hours. And I really like these kind of shows because bands like this don't always play nearby, and taking Jordan to see them is not always feasible.
It's actually such a cool way to let a kid who has autism or just any like neurodivergent kid, maybe even Nathan with a sensory disorder, to go see a concert.
Right,
Whereas
because
like,
the crowds are expect if it's like
right,
really crowded, it's too much, it's overwhelming.
because I have a sensory disorder and I get overwhelmed at concerts, so I can imagine what a little person thinks.
Right. Now, Lila's going to go up to see BTS up in Baltimore in August. And those like
Sweet.
yeah, those tickets were not cheap. And
No.
like I would like to have taken Jordan, but driving an hour away to stand in a really crowded stadium when it's blistering fucking hot, where he might decide halfway through that he wants to go home, that's a terrible idea. So this was great that I could do this. Anastasia likes these kind of shows too. She had gone to the Stray Kids concert this past summer, and it was in DC, but it was like 103 degrees.
I think that if you've never been to DC, you don't really know how hot it gets. It
Yeah,
gets
no.
so muggy in DC that I had to change my clothes 3 times in a day when I was visiting.
Yeah, it was brutally hot. And she liked the show, but they didn't finish it because people started passing out on stage.
Really?
Yeah, they
That's
they
crazy.
got through most of the show, but they didn't finish it. But still, they had a good time. Claudia almost passed out,
Oh no.
but she went. I took her to go see the concert movie, and she got to watch it. She got to relax. She got to sit in a nice air conditioned movie theater, have a soda, and she had a lot of fun watching it, even though she'd already seen that particular concert. So that was cool. Tuesday night, we celebrated yesterday. This would be yesterday, recording on Wednesday. We celebrated Jordan's 18th birthday, which was
Oh,
very
bittersweet.
bittersweet. We should have been celebrating with him becoming a legal adult with a room full of his high school senior friends, but no, because fuck you, autism. It's just something else Jordan's been denied. But on the plus side, June was there. We had June come over. June's parents were busting her chops, and they were all from school yesterday, and she wasn't allowed to come and see Lila, and Lila was kind of upset about that. And then they decided, well, what if we ask to have June come over to come to Jordan's birthday party? And I was like, I feel so used. But I was like, that's fine. The only thing is, if she comes over, you guys actually have to be at Jordan's birthday party. You have to actually come and eat dinner with us. You can't just show up, grab a slice of pizza, and then go back next door, because that's not how that's going to work. If you're going
And
to be
also,
there,
that's rude.
yeah, if you're going to be there, you actually have to be there. I don't mind them. I didn't mind that they made use us as an excuse for June to come over, but it was like you can't actually just come and disappear. Like you actually have to stick around. So, but they did, and I know Lila was kind of twitchy about this because this is the first time that June's had dinner with us, but she was there with us for 2 hours, and it was great. We sat, we talked, we chatted, we had pizza. Me and June talked about comic books for a bit because that's what we talk about. But we talked about a whole bunch of different stuff. We talked about politics. June is very politically active, which I thought Lila was going to strangle me because we just started yapping about politics. But it was great. It was a really nice evening. They stayed for 2 hours. June was very comfortable. She wasn't like all twitchy and nervous. She wasn't like all edgy. She was just, the two of them were very comfortable, and it was very sweet. The two of them were just cuddled up on the couch. I was like, oh, it's so cute. Um, we didn't embarrass Lila. And after 2 hours, I was like, all right, I know you guys want to spend, some of your time together. So go away, go back next door and go spend the rest of your evening together. But, thanks for coming. But it was a really, really nice evening. And we finally got to spend time with June, and we finally got to know June a bit, and she got to know us, and it went really, really well. So, and Anastasia was thrilled because she's been wanting to, hang out with June, her sister's girlfriend. So, yeah. So, even though it was kind of bittersweet with Jordan's 18th birthday, it still ended up being a really nice day. So,
and Jordan had a good time?
Yes, he came out. He said hi to everybody. He ate his pizza. He went back into his room.
Yeah.
But then he kept sticking his head out and looking around and being embarrassed because Lila and June are there, and he gets embarrassed around girls. So it was like,
yeah,
okay. And then he came out, opened his gifts. He was excited about that, and then he went back into his room. It was like, and then he had cake. So,
oh my God, you have an adult child.
I have an adult child, and in 2 years I'll have, well, there's Lila, but I'll have 3 adult children in 2 years. So,
isn't that crazy?
Yep, I'm old.
It's crazy because when we met, Jordan was like Nathan's age, and now
he's all grown up.
I know, so sad. Well, speaking of grown-up people, last week was my birthday.
In your 40s.
Yes, and as you know, like, we recorded the podcast early so I could go to a concert. I drove 3.5 hours with my son's girlfriend Lexi so that we could go to the Cardi B concert in Sunrise. It was everything that you would expect a Cardi B concert to be. I felt way dressed down. I was just wearing bike shorts, a jersey shirt, and a jean jacket, and sparkly Steve Madden shoes. There was a lot of asses out. A lot of them. A lot of butts. I saw a lot of butts. I got out of my car, and a girl was wearing a thong with sheer pants, and I was like, okay, this is the vibe. I looked over at my son's girlfriend. I was like, oh, I should have pulled out the clothes from my 20s.
Yeah, you definitely should have showed up in a thong.
Yeah. Thank you for the birthday wishes. But it was cool. Everybody looked so cute. There's girls dressed as schoolgirls, and everybody was twerking, and it was like a good time. It felt like going to my club days. It felt like my club days. She brought out Ozuna, which is a reggaeton singer who I really like. She brought out another guy who's apparently very popular. He had like a Jamaican vibe. I don't know who it was. No idea.
Oh.
No idea who that guy was. But then she also brought out Trina, which if you were a 90s rap kid, like, you know who Trina is. She was great. She's like from the Little Kim era. So then we drove home. Now, we were going to stay in Sunrise overnight, but my little concert goer buddy forgot to get the next day off of work. Real amateur move. So we had to drive home because she had to be to work at 10 a.m. So we got out of the concert at midnight, but we didn't get out of the parking lot until 1 a.m. because there were so many people there. It was a sold-out show.
Woo!
Yeah, so we got out of the parking lot at 1 a.m. So I got on the road for a 3.5-hour trip at 1 a.m. I got to like the second exit on Alligator Alley, or the second rest area on Alligator Alley, and I pulled over and I slept for 30 minutes. And then I was like, okay, I got this. I'm just going to go. I'm going to get to Fort Myers. I'm going to get some coffee. I got to Fort Myers. I pulled in to a McDonald's. Immediately just went to a parking space, put my jacket over my head, and slept for an hour in the car.
If you were still in your 30s, you probably could have made the whole drive.
You probably could have made the whole drive, but yeah, nobody wants to see my ass either these days, Lynette. So, but the cool thing about the concert was everybody's ass was out. So, like, we could have fit at men's asses, women's asses. It didn't matter. So, anyways, I So I went to sleep for an hour. I woke up, it was 4 a.m. I was still really far away from home, like 2 hours away
Jesus.
from home. And I'm driving, and at this point, Lexi woke up because she was being a little sleeping passenger princess up until that point. And she woke up and she started talking to me, and that kept me awake. I went, I got a coffee, I immediately spilled it on my shirt. I got home at 6 a.m.
Woo! Jesus.
We walked in the door at 6 a.m. I literally looked at everybody and I was like, I'm gone. And I went to the bed and went to sleep. And of course, at that point, my little child was awake and he was yapping my ear off. Just sat right next to me and just yap, 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 yap until like 6:45. And then I fell asleep. I woke up around 10. So that was fun. I had a great time. The Cardi B concert was amazing. She did give out $5,000 to people who were twerking, and the woman that she gave the $5,000 to was like a bigger girl, which I thought was really cool. I was like, yeah, I get it.
Very
Um,
nice.
yeah. The other thing I want to talk about is yesterday, when I was supposed to be finishing up notes, I had to go to Tampa to pick up my son's car because we had to get it serviced. Because when I was driving, I drove his car to Miami, and when I was driving it, I noticed like a little shake. It was shaking a little bit, not like too bad, but I knew that it needed an alignment. And also, I was like, I wonder if this kid has changed his oil. He had like 18% oil life left.
Damn.
Yeah, and he's so busy with school and studying for the MCAT that he really doesn't have time to do, normal people things like getting his car serviced. And we'll be honest, he doesn't want to pay for it either. So
You better teach him paying for it now. It saves him a lot of money when it breaks down later.
oh, he knows that, but he wants us to pay for it. And also, I think that he just didn't realize. He knew that the oil life was like 18% because he told us, but I don't think he doesn't pay enough attention to notice like the vibration. Um, I've tried to teach him, hey, you got to become one with your car so that you can feel when things are off just a little bit. You know what I mean? He hasn't become one with his car. I'm one with his car because I got into his car. I was like, oh, it has a vibration. Like, what's going on? So we're going to rotate his tires, change his oil, bring it back to him on Friday. But while we were there, we brought our youngest son, and he was playing Nerf Wars. They got Nerf guns.
Mm-hmm.
So my brother, this was the endearing part. My brother picked up my youngest son the other day, and he was like, okay, we're going to go to Target. You can pick out 2 things that you want, anything that you want. Because we don't live with my brother anymore, so he hasn't seen my son really. And he's like, okay, it's going to be an Uncle Chris and Nathan day. So they went to Target. He allowed him to pick out 2 things, anything that he wanted. Of course, he picked out a really expensive Lego set, which as a parent, let me just tell you, those really expensive Lego sets are more a chore for us than they are for the kids, because those kids lose interest real fast putting those things together when they're 7 years old. And then he got him a Nerf gun. He said to me, this is logic for my brother who is conservative but also kind of liberal. He said, well, he wanted the Hulk smash gloves, but I thought that wouldn't be a good idea since you're trying to teach him not to hit people. So I decided I'd get him the Nerf gun instead. It's a Nerf machine gun. It has like a drum, and he has to cock it back and shoot it. I actually think it's kind of lame because you have to cock it every time you fire. Like, I think it would be cool if it was like fed in. You know what I mean? But instead, so him and his brother last night were playing Nerf Wars. And then I was like, okay, well, we have to go. It's 10 o'clock. I was talking to you at like 10 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just driving home, and I said, okay, we have to go. And my oldest was like, hey, make sure that when you bring him back on Friday, you bring more bullets. I was like, good Lord. But it seemed like a really good bonding moment for the 2 of them, which
Very
they don't
cute.
get that many. Yeah. So I like that. That was fun. Oh, I also cleaned their house and washed their dishes, mopped their floor and washed their dishes. Remember I told you last time I went over there I cleaned the dishes? Well, this time I said, hey, Lexi, is there anything that you need me to help with before I go? And she's like, well, miss. She calls me miss. She goes, I don't know if you saw all those dishes over there. And I said, okay, I go, okay, I'll wash them for you, right? And then I go, are you sure you don't want me to like mop the floor too? And she goes, no, I'll get that. And then after I finish the dishes, she goes, well, on second thought, would you mind?
It might as well.
So I did that. I mopped myself out of the house. And my son was like, you're leaving? I was like, yeah, I mopped myself out of the house so I wouldn't leave footprints. It's like totally mom thing to do. All right, but that's it. It was great. I had a great week. You had a great week. I hope everybody else had a great week.
Yep. All right. Well, that is it for today's show. The Opinionated Ogre podcast, like the newsletter, is free and 100% supported by you, our amazing audience. We have no advertisers or sponsors, so please consider becoming a paid subscriber for only $5 a month or just $50 a year. If you prefer a one-time donation, we now have a PayPal button for your convenience, and we absolutely appreciate every PayPal We absolutely appreciate every PayPal donation. So thank you very much for that. Help others join the Organization conversation by sharing the OgPod on the social media platform of your choice and give us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts or wherever you're listening. You can find me on the Opinionated Ogre at Substack, Blue Sky, and also on TikTok. Florida Woman, where can our beloved audience find you?
Well, theoretically, you guys can find me at Florida Woman Rants on Substack.
Someday she will get back to writing. Promise.
One day.
Someday. There are just 193 days left until the most important midterm elections in American history. That's it. We're under 200 days now, and that time will fly by faster than you can imagine. The regime is panicking over a war they started and cannot end because they're stupid and weak. In November, we're going to show them just how fucking stupid and weak they are. Remember, you are never alone. Stay strong. We beat the fascists once, and we will fucking do it again. Adios.
Adios.
All right. That is it. Everybody, thank you for joining us.
Oh, wait, I wanted to tell you something really fast that I didn't want to put on the show. So on Monday, I was going out to work, right? You know, doing a little Instacart, getting my pennies. And traffic was really bad here. And I looked at the FHP, the Florida Highway Patrol live feed, and apparently there was a fatal accident on I-75. So what happened was this kid in a Mustang was in the left lane, tried to switch lanes to the middle lane, sideswiped the car, the SUV sideswiped a semi-truck. The semi-truck went across all 3 lanes, flipped, and the semi-truck driver died.
Oof.
Now, you're like, why are we talking about this? Well, the kid who was driving, I say kid because it turns out that he was 18 years old. The kid who caused the accident, he was driving the Mustang. He stopped initially at the accident site, and then he left the scene, okay? So there was a manhunt for 2 days or a day or something for the kid who caused the accident. They finally arrested him. He was an Atlanta Braves minor league baseball player. Crazy. 18 years old, and now he's being charged with vehicular homicide. What's crazy, and the only reason that I bring this up is because I know that a lot of our listeners are going to have kids who are driving. I'm sure, just statistically speaking, there has to be somebody in here who has a kid who's going to be driving soon. You, obviously, are going to have a kid driving soon. And, when you're 18 years old, you get scared. And sometimes, not that I think that, your kid will do it, but you never know how a kid might react or panic in a situation like that. And the reality is if that kid had stayed unseen, he probably wouldn't be charged with vehicular homicide. He would probably just gotten a careless driving ticket or something like that.
Right.
It's really, really important that we teach our kids to
never leave the scene of an accident.
Never leave the scene of an accident. Never.
Got that, everybody? Important PSA.
And also, look in your blind spot.
Hey. All right. Thank you, everybody. We will see you guys next Wednesday, and have a lovely. Bye.
Bye, guys.